I just wanted to say that the women's spirituality programs, which I created and which Vicki is now teaching in, as well as Lucia, were grounded on the premise that in the academy we didn't include the women's voices, and they were about the integration of body, mind, and spirit. And their premise was activism. You had to, these were graduate degrees, legitimate in the academy, but your responsibility was not to go and teach. You could do that if you wanted to, but to be active in the transformation of our culture. And I felt that the powers that come when we as academics get out of our heads and use our bodies and our spirit were untapped resources. So this has flourished somewhat over the years. It's now 25 years or so since we started. And and
not that long. No.
It's not 20?
50.
No, it was
No,
9.
late
Well,
90s.
that's beside the point. Oh, you're right. It was 1992. I began this with Vicki, so that the first, the starting, the kickoff workshop, Vicki was one of the bookends and Starhawk was the other.
And Louisa Tish.
And Louisa Tish wasn't there.
It.
Was she?
I will bring some thought in for, I feel a little bit uneasy with this generalizing academy. Which academy do you mean? Of course we are not fond to be in patriarchal academy, but I think there is an ongoing stream at many places of a different type of academy. An alternative one. Sometimes I would like to call it a matriarchal type of academy, which includes spirituality, which includes political action and so on. So, for here in this group, most of us are not in patriarchal academy, most of us are out, or if some of us are still in patriarchal academy, they are marginalized and doing different things. We are together here and forming academy of a completely different type, which started with all the conferences I did, Genevieve did, and so on. It's a completely different type of academy, it's a holistic one. And then I think the split between academy and activism becomes a little bit obsolete. Yes. And in this different type of academy, I think theory is important. One of you said this, I think Vicki, for we start to see things anew and in a different way. In the light of theory. Sometimes we even recognize it in the light of the theory. The theory we mean here, we have here, this is theory. And the difference to patriarchal academy is also that this knowledge is brought back to the people where we get it from. This is a circle. We get knowledge, we receive it from indigenous people, from people who are struggling every day. We are transforming it, and the theory gives light to recognize much more of this at different corners of the world, and then it comes back to the people where we took it from. And this is not the typical way of academy in patriarchy. So I think we are still on the way to form a completely different kind of academic community, and which is not where activism is in. Many of us here are, as Vahu said, intellectual activists or active intellectuals.
Angela, again it's your turn.
You're going to have to speak now.
Moving back to the real program now. Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons I'm totally relaxed about getting my turn is because I so much agree with everything that's been said. So I'm not like burning to put anything completely different on the agenda. I think it was very, very interesting to hear the initial discussion around how you move the book, because to me that was an example of some of the power that there is when people are located differently and from different places, and whose activism or their urge to change is taking different forms. And Vicki calls that their dharma, I guess. I'm learning all kind of new language.
Individual path.
Each of, and place and work and so on. That was around the question of a book and how one gets, not just a book, but really how one moves these ideas and this knowledge into places where it can really, really make a difference. And that's something I think that everybody here we do feel that the kind of theory, the kind of understandings that we share and that we're developing are really important. And they're extremely important for the work we do in our places, and they're all over the place, and they're very different forms of work, and for the world. And the potential we have to really maximize the potential of all of us making a change in our places and generally. That's partly our task. I mean, how can we use what we've created here, what we have the beginnings of here, in the very, very best way? And I think that's how can we support each other in our specific places, but also how can we be heard and seen more widely and more broadly, and I think, and politically. Partly it's getting out the ideas, but I mean, really, I don't think there's any other, at this point, international network of feminists that is based on a political perspective. It's a spiritual perspective, it's an economic perspective, it's a political perspective. Okay? We have networks around health. We have networks around violence against women. We have networks around appropriate technology. We have an awful lot of organizing among women and feminists that's doing good work. And we have networks organized around UN processes or bringing various NGOs together. And they're important too. But the kind of, I think partly what I think we perhaps are in a place to do, as long as it's grounded in our local practices, okay? Since we are all activists, I think that connection, that activist intellectuals and intellectual activists, that's partly why we're here, eh? Because we all find ideas extremely important. We're all committed to change, and we see this politically. And we're doing it where we are. So I think that almost goes without saying. We've opted ourselves in here for that reason. We're not impatient, because if we put our book into a different scholarly conference, it would get us more points on our CV. And we're here because even though we're grounded in community and we are activists, we know that theory is important. You know, so okay, we're all here together.
Any responses? Yeah, sorry.
No, well, I think what I felt with the Gift Economy Network is that we haven't found a way to maximize the political presence. You know, and it's happening and it's building, it's developing. But if I go places and speak to people, or I'm talking to people locally, I can say I'm participating in the International Feminist Network for a Gift Economy, and that opens up a lot of opportunities for discussion, and we move things forward. But as far as the network being a presence or a voice or a place, we aren't. That's not something we've chosen to do, and I'm including in a way the matriarchal studies, in the sense that you have a project of being heard and being seen politically, but there's a whole world out there. There's the whole world of there's a world in which even the feminist face, the face of feminism even, is not the face we want to see. And yet it's happening as we're talking about the spaces, we're talking about the activities, we're talking about the power that there is in so many communities. And in fact, what's making the feminist change is on the ground. So I'm not actually proposing anything that useful, except to say that kind of energy around how to get the books out and where people are placed was a sign in terms of the ideas in the academy, but there's many, many other. And the thing that Arella's asking for is another example of we need to be able to do that better. So that's just.
Pardon me for interrupting, but I have to leave, unfortunately. I have to speak tonight at 6:30
Very
a possible suggestion. Maybe we could do something around Mother's Day, and instead of, as it is now, is something like each individual mother as is saluted, and we could shift from the one to the many, so to speak, and make that, you know, just a special day to make
Yeah, right.
From Mother's Day to Matriarchy Day?
Yeah.
Well, that could be the words. That could be the words, and maybe even you use your one world to the heart world. You know, you make the shift. You have one
So
on
you
either
have
side. They're
an
both angry.
image that actually merges the two together on the internet. So you actually have like
And you
something
click on
that
one, click on
actually
the other,
clicks,
go.
and it merges the two together.
Yeah, we're together.
No, she's talking about the images of the heart.
We're actually doing the same thing. I'm doing a feminine symposium in Jamaica, specifically doing that. We're inviting everyone.
And Mother's Day.
Because there's so much violence in Jamaica, we decided that we wanted to hear from our teachers, the very mothers in the worst places in Jamaica and the violence. And we're having day into night forum where for 20 minutes, mothers and their families can get up to the podium and talk about their mother. And that'll be Mother's Day next 2010.
Hey.
Because basically my work is on the ground, and it is these women who make culture, just like Waha said. And it's overwhelming for me at times to do trauma work and to do all these other things, and then take this material and somehow, you know, have it metabolized within it, type of thing. But that's why I decided that I was going to do more conferences that were feminine symposium, and it was for everyone that could be allowed to come.
Vicky?
Just a quick thing about the Mother's Day. I took a group of women to Peru a couple years ago, and we went at one point to a weaving cooperative with indigenous women in the Andes, and it was Mother's Day. It was International Mother's Day. I had no idea. And they took it totally seriously, like Pachamama Mother's Day. And they welcomed us with a ritual of celebration that we were all women and that, you know, we were celebrating Mother's Day. So ever since then, I've been doing talks and things on Mother's Day with that framework, you know, that it's not a Hallmark card like it is in the United States. It's International Mother's Day. We should utilize it, absolutely. I think that's brilliant.
What date is that?
Well, May 10th.
Same as Mother's Day?
Yeah, it was our Mother's Day, but it was
Because it's
their
receiving
Mother's
peace
Day.
Yes.
Tradition, can I just?
1 minute.
Mother's Day has traditionally been a peace day. It was originally, that was its original conceptualization, and so Voice of Women for Peace in Halifax always does something on Mother's Day relating it to peace. But also South Africa has a Mother's Day, but it's October. When is it? It's not the same as our Hallmark Day. And we might want to pick a day that isn't Hallmark Day to do a new type of Mother's Day. But certainly the book in terms of the cultures of peace might be a really good sort of thing to tie into Mother's Day because of that long-term historical sort of lineage.
Debbie?
That's what I was going to say.
Yes, told her.
And having mothers on the streets, in the open space, celebrating Mother Earth and other Mother gods.
Yes.
Oh.
This we must be in the public, it must be seen. This would be a project for Mother's Day.
Yeah.
Yes.
Jen?
Actually, ARM, the Association for Research on Mothering, is doing things around Mother's Day. And they also have this website of all these different mothers organizations. So if we could infiltrate that with Pachamama and Matriarchy, I think it would be great. I don't know if they'll want to do that, but we could try.
And also the International Mother Centers, they also have a public appearance with Miles for Mothers. This is an open space. They go on Mother's Day out, mothers, doing a mile for mothers.
Angela?
Just on Mother's Day, I just want to remind everybody that the reason why it is celebrated in May is because in the Catholic Church, May is the month of the Virgin Mary.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Yep.
It's really bad.
Well, their birthday is the 12th.
Angela?
I don't know if people are familiar with the, is it the World March of Women, the group?
Oh, yeah. Yes, it's the World March of Women.
World March of Women.
Yeah.
There's a group that came out of Quebec
International.
and is now international. Quebec Feminists organized a march for bread and roses that was incredibly successful because they're very, very well organized, very, very strong in Quebec. And then they took the idea to the world, to Beijing, and women all over the world working at the grassroots became interested in this. So that this World March of Women is a linkage of grassroots feminist groups. It's not an NGO. It's actually, they're finding forms that women with local practice, grounded in their struggles, can in fact know about each other and can know that they are part of a global movement. And it might be, and they're always considering alternative economies and alternative economics. They're very, very interested in not being the market. They have a very strong critique of globalization. They had to change it, of course, from bread and roses internationally because that's not everybody has wheat and not everybody has roses. But anyway, I wonder whether we could make an approach to the World March of Women that a concept of this question of, it seems to me that one of the things that excites me most about this gift economy is that in patriarchy everything's separate, the economy, the society, the culture, the spirituality. But when giving is the economy, and it's your humanity, and it's your spirituality. I mean, it's connected, it's inseparable, which is why we can all be here, because those who are interested, in different areas. So if we developed a proposal or found a way to take it to dialogue in the World March of Women, that there would be, one of the things they would take up, they have another march coming up, or it's not a march, it's designed, when they do an international thing, and they've done numbers of those, very successfully, each locality does it the way they want and picks their own form of practice, but it's around issues that they've identified together. So perhaps we could make a proposal that mothers, that they do this celebration. That could start a lot of discussion locally, would provide an opportunity, and those of us who are located places where there are, could either think about starting groups connected to them, but could also hook into groups that exist. Now I want to just say one more thing about that. It's very varied and very patchy, because obviously whichever feminist hooked in to this network is the one who's there. And sometimes you get the older generation's feminists being pissed off that it's these new upstarts, and some of you get some who are suspicious because they're too tied into trade unions with trade union money. And I'm not suggesting, this is a messy linkage, but it really is an attempt to link grassroots organizing among feminists, and there's strong representations from various countries in Africa and strong from Latin America, and it exists. So that's just, could we try to bring this to them as a potential activity for them?
Karina?
Yes, I wanted to comment on language. In light of the fact that the neoliberal forces have appropriated the language of human rights and women's studies and so on, I think it would be very important for us to reinvent and appropriate back our language. And so maybe that should be part of what we're doing as well, is translating terms, taking up good terms from Mary Daly and others. And I just thought, since synergy is the big corporate word today, networking has been co-opted, maybe we should be a gynergy. And we refuse to talk about seminars because that's where the semen is disseminated. So we have feminars. Yes, and then we don't brainstorm, we soul storm. and so on. And I think that when you think that NGOs are referred to as social capital, you know, I think that we should start avoiding this capitalistic language, because it is that metaphor, that holographic metaphor that Genevieve talks about, and so that's a way of always reminding that we're not part of that kind of discourse. It's militaristic. They even have the war of the choirs now on TV, and you know, even choir singing are having a war between them, you know, for the one that wins. So that is the colonization, linguistic colonization. So, and then I have a wish, could we maybe write together on the list or somewhere a text that would explain, well, I know that the gift economy needs to be communicated in a locally appropriate way, but I still would appreciate the help that I need in finding the right arguments to sell the gift economy as an idea, to make it, to explain it in a way. I mean, I know that Jen has done it also.
You've done it beautifully in one of your mails.
Oh, I don't remember which one.
I'm using it all the time.
Well, send it back to me. But you know, particularly if we think we're talking to the white corporate male or something like that, how do we make him want the gift economy? What arguments do we find, what rhetoric to make him want it instead of immediately resisting it? That's a real challenge.
If you want to, men come to it themselves. I get lots of letters from men on the internet that have read the book or heard the idea, that kind of thing, and they write to me and they really like it, and you know, I don't know what it is that moves each particular one, but when they're ready, they get there in some ways. Now that doesn't mean that you can go to the CEO and tell him we should have a gift economy and, you know, give up your bonus.
Maybe I'm idealistic here, you know, that I think that the CT.
But little by little, and really, I think, you know, I think the academic work is important because you undermine those connections at the basis of what they build everything on top of.
Absolutely, but that's
self-justification.
I'm not denying the value of the academic at all. I'm just looking for multiple different discourses that could be relied on in different contexts. Maybe that's like translating the idea to different communities.
Yeah, that's good.
Marina?
Bueno, a mí me preocupa la propuesta de un Día de las Madres.
She's coming back to Mother's Day. She says that where is here the proposals of a Mother Day?
Porque allá en México como país,
because in Mexico as a country,
se festeja el 10 de mayo.
They celebrate it on the 10th of May.
Pero se ha vuelto un día muy consumista.
But it is definitely a very a day which is celebrated based on market consumption.
Y se maneja la imagen de la madre idealizada por el patriarcado.
And there is an image of an idealized mother, idealized by patriarchy.
Ese día se da regalos que se compran a las madres.
That day you have to buy gifts which are very expensive to give them to the mothers.
Y al otro día las golpean.
And the next day
no
they get beaten.
No en Juchitán. Menos.
Not in Juchitán.
En general en México.
Generally in Mexico, that is what happens.
Entonces, sí me preocupa cómo se puede plantear ese día.
It worries me how that day should be presented.
Yo pienso, no sé si entendía Heide, que sería como, no sé si el día de la madre tierra, la madre naturaleza.
I don't know what I understood what Heidi said, but I mean, as far as I understand, she was talking about Mother Earth Day, Nature's Day.
algo que tuviera más relación con también, o el día de la placenta, tal vez podría ser. ¿No?
Something that it would be better like the day of the womb.
Algo que diera más, una imagen más de la madre como que es la que, de la que surgimos y la que está cubriendo y dando y todo esto que hemos visto.
A real image of the mother from as the source of life, from that from which we have come from.
Y esto nos permite también hacer una crítica a la medicina patriarcal que se ha apropiado del cuerpo de las mujeres en todo el mundo.
Would allow us to establish a critique to patriarchal medicine.
A mí me preocupa que cada vez hay más casos de cáncer uterino, de virus de papiloma, muchas cosas que hacen que las mujeres tengamos miedo. Y esas enfermedades sí se están dando en Juchitán.
It worries me that there are more and more cases of uterine cancer and all sort of breast cancer and that.
Y el cáncer de mama también, hay muchos
But
casos.
there are lots of cases of that, and that is not being considered.
Entonces, yo propongo que sea el día de la placenta.
I propose that it should be the day of the womb.
No, the
Placenta.
placenta.
Placenta, okay. Placenta.
Have you finished?
Placenta. Didn't you see the talk?
Placenta in English?
Frida? Placenta. Same word, yes.
Did you have your hand?
Yeah, I had my hand up. Am I going to get to talk?
I just would like to ask one question. Where is the link between anarchism, matriarchal studies, and gifted economy? Because I think this is the crew interested in, and I haven't got enough ideas. So I think maybe others haven't and might be.
Can you repeat?
Anarchism, the link between anarchism, matriarchal studies, and gifted
I
economy.
have some articles about it, good.
But
I would reply to this.
just a short statement.
Now here.
Yeah.
Holly? You have that?
Oh, well, I just wondered, what are we doing? Are we still responding all over the place?
Yes.
Okay, because I am hearing the same people speak over and over again. There was some mention like maybe that wouldn't happen, so that everybody could speak, so I was just wondering.
We
All
have
right,
three people.
okay, so it doesn't matter, all right.
Then we go.
Well, I wanted to speak just really briefly to the assertion that we're all activists and academics. And that's not the case for me. I'm not an activist because, I mean, I did it for decades, but, you know, like a lot of other people, I'm dealing with major health issues. I got uterine cancer, spread to my lungs. It's very difficult for me to breathe. So, you know, to say we're all activists is to assume that we all have the physical capacity to do that. It's wrong. It's not true. Secondly, are we all academicians?
Scholars, I think, intellectuals.
The word was
Intellectuals.
academicians. It was never intellectuals.
Yes, it was. We are activists, intellectuals,
Well, let her make her point.
Let her finish, please.
What I heard over and over again was, the academy, we're in the academy, we're academicians. I heard over and over. That's what I'm responding to. I was in the academy for, 30 years in the United States. And I could spend a lot of time on this topic, but I came to the conclusion at the age of 50 that American Academy is possessed. Professors and administrators are really possessed with the idea of the supremacy of Abrahamic religions.
Right.
You see this in Barack Obama's inauguration. I was sick for 24 hours afterwards. All of the prayers and invocations, the whole ritual panoply, the first half hour of his inauguration, which is a very heavy symbolic statement. These people know what they are doing. And the whole thing was the God of Abraham, spreading around the world. Someday we'll have one world where everybody believes in the same one God. And won't that just be great, right? So like no Native Americans, no Buddhists, no Hindus. Barack Obama characterized the religious complexion of the United States as Jewish, Christian, I think he might have said Muslim, and non-believers.
Yeah.
You know, this is our president. So I've said enough. I'm just saying the tone in my country. And here I am, you know, decolonizing the sky. What do you think is going to happen to me in an environment like that? So I am allergic to the academy, you know, after 30 years of trying and trying and trying to fit in. I finally concluded, you know, after an incredible, horrible event, for which I am suing the school that I was a doctoral student at. Just like Barbara Mont says, it's not fair. I vow to make it fair. This is why I got cancer. Okay? So these people are willing to destroy people's lives to uphold the God of Abraham. That's why I'm not an academic anymore. So, just wanted to check in on that.
Yeah.
Frida? I want to, acknowledging that that we had another profound subject laid on the table since this happened, but I wanted to revert to what Marina was saying and also the discussion about Mother's Day. And I was thinking about how Mother's Day, one of the chief functions, things that's done on commercialized Mother's Day is greeting cards. And how profound the choice of greeting cards can be, but how limited it is. And I was thinking, you know, we could have a Wisdom of the Mothers greeting card series with a picture of a mother and something that she said. And then I also thought, when Marina said this, we could have a placenta Mother's Day card saying she is a tree of life and showing the image and explaining what the placenta is, because I've never in my life, I mean, I'm 62 years old, I've never saw a placenta before that day. So anyway, these are little things that could go around very far, under the radar almost.
You can put them on the internet too.
Yes, that's right. Audrey?
Oh yes, I just wanted to mention, you know, a while back in terms of infiltrating the academy, I had done a little bit of work for an economics professor at Stanford, and he had wanted to pay me, and I said, no, instead of paying me, I'm going to give you Jen Vaughn's books on the gift economy, and you have to vow that you're going to read them. Now, that was several months ago. I've got to see if he's done his homework. But Jen graciously sent me the books, and then I mailed them on to him. And this is a man who was involved in the Obama administration campaign, and then almost took a job, actually, in the administration, but decided not to. So I'm going to hold his feet to the fire around that, because he's a well-meaning man who's, you know, really into globalization paradigms, but his heart, I think, is in the right place. And so I feel that if he could be shown some of this other material, perhaps he would be an opening. So.
Send him all the other books as well.
Yeah, he'll have a long reading list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Annie?
Yeah. Thank you. We have founded in Holland a year ago this academy, like a daughter academy from Academie Hagia. It's called Pan Sophia, Sophia Wisdom. And well, here I am reading all the material what's there, making syllabi for putting the theory in nice parcels. Women are very interested, not only the intellectual or academic form, but also the housewives and women in business life. They are eager to hear the structure of the academy. I have not trouble, but it's difficult to find all the information, to make a good syllabus, to find the film and video information. I didn't know about the network you were bringing in. My only information was Matriarchal studies in Germany and the gift economy. So there's a whole new world opening for me. So I'm very glad that I was here and I met you and okay, but what is my problem in Holland? For me personally, there's a problem. There's a lot of work to do, and we are with a few people. So you have to build it, and publish about it and everything. So that is and I as a person need a kind of space for my inner transformation, for my inner peace and harmony. Because when I lecture, I cannot be too much of an activist, because I bring my own, you know, I have to be in a harmony to address a group. So it's for me it's the question which I want to, what is the message? My message is to reunite women and to make them conscious of their womanship and what is the message? That is my new question for this new academy.
What about the question of translation to Dutch? I have the same problem in Hebrew. How do you translate all this stuff?
There's more English and German, and I read French and English and German.
What
I
about
do
your
everything.
students? What about your students?
Oh, I translate in Dutch. I translate everything in Dutch. So that is something.
Okay. If there are no further responses, we'll go to Bob.
One brief comment about I think we're using words a lot differently. Intellectual, activist, and so on and so forth. I mean, to create an institute seemed to me incredibly active. And so I think when people say a word like activist, there's an image sometimes that's, you know, and sometimes when people say intellectual, there's an image. And I really, so I think everyone here is interested in changing the world and organizing their activity, which may be intellectual and maybe is always intellectual actually, but maybe more about writing and more about speaking or more about organizing on the ground. But that I don't think, while the critique of the academy is very, very well taken, and I don't think it's correct that we have that big distinction here. We have different elements and relationships and in different ways we express our active commitment to change the world. Some of us are located in the academy and might be tasked with doing certain things as well. But
yes, so I'm putting the question, what is the message? What do you want to reach? What is your goal? And I cannot split myself in hundreds of activities at this moment. I have to focus.
But you are just beginning with a big activity.
Yeah.
You're asking us that too. You're asking us that.
Yeah,
Yes.
all right. Great.
Debbie?
Me?
Yeah, Margaret, sorry.
Well, I just wanted to mention that I consider myself an activist and my locus is the academy right now. Because I'm bringing courses and the information that Eleanor Gaden started through the Women's Spirituality program out to young people, because I feel that it's the younger people who are going to be the hope. They're the ones who are going to be influenced by these ideas. They're the ones who are receptive because they are in a world that's in crisis and they're looking for answers. And part of my message always is the empowerment of the women and the men who are in my classrooms through these ideas, and they're being able to integrate them spiritually, intellectually, emotionally into their own lives. And these are people from different class systems and different walks of life. So I feel that the Academy is a powerful place of spreading these ideas and getting them out to people.
My mother used to say, in order to start a revolution, you must first feed people. So at breakfast this morning, we came up with this great idea, which I will share with you as one possible activity to come out of this conference. We were talking about how do we have peace in the Middle East, and so we've decided that we have to have a conference and invite Hillary Clinton, Condoleezza Rice, and who else?
Tzippi Livni,
Michelle
Obama,
Michelle
Hanan
Obama.
Al-Sharawi, and Queen of Jordan, and the President's wife,
Michelle
Assad's
Obama.
wife.
Yeah. Because we know that the men aren't going to be able to do it, and so why should we wait for them anyway? And you know, the social theory says that we can't compete with the old boys networks. We must start our own networks, and so we have our own network. We have a parallel network. So I'm thinking, you know, for the day of the womb would be a nice time to have the conference. We've been talking about perhaps having it in Italy, although I work at the University of Texas at Austin, and the motto there is, what starts here changes the world. Yeah. So, and you don't get a more wonderful old boys network than there, but since I happen to work there, I can get us free rooms, you know, for meeting spaces, I'm thinking.
Do you have enough palaces for all these women?
It should not be in the United States.
No, so it's not going to be in the United States. So that's what I want to offer, is to help to be like a co-organizer of doing this conference.
What about Bosnia?
Bosnia.
I have a lot of women. I do that every year also.
That would be great. I would love
They
that.
could organize all of that, and it'd be ready.
Okay.
And at least it would be neutral ground to both East and West.
Okay, so I'm going to pass my card around. So the other thing is that we have emails of everybody's emails in the back of the program, but I wanted to offer that we either I know you like have tons of emails and probably too many, but we come up with either, you know, an email list or a Facebook page or a Second Life meeting place. I don't know if y'all are familiar with Second Life, but it's a virtual world where we can actually all come together on the internet and have a discussion at the same time. Now, some of us, because of our time zones, yes, it would be midnight or 3 a.m., but it's a way to convene without actually having to take our physical bodies there. We take our virtual bodies there. I mean, I know it's a new technology, but you get to do things like fly there. You know, it lets you fly, so it's a good thing. So I would just offer that we use the free gift economy of the internet to continue our work, but for sure to have, before we leave today, to come up with a strategy of continuing this conversation and continuing our discussions together, because, you know, I mean, I don't know about you, but how many conferences I've gone to, and it was a great thing, and then you go home and you recycle your materials, and I don't want to do that with this book. It's too precious.
How do you use this second?
So Second Life, you go to Second Life, and then you get your person, and it's an avatar. I think my name is Music Sweetwater or something like that. And you get to dress your person. I think I'm currently a black man, but I could change it. You know, and
You're not really selling this, but anyway.
okay, but you could even there are actually, you could also, most things are free there, but you can also buy things. Like we could buy a gift economy island, and we could have our own island.
Oh, buy my island. I have an island for sale.
She's It's a, right. It's not.
That is commodifying our imaginations.
Okay. All I'm saying is that I'm not saying we have to do it. I'm saying that that's one possibility of a way that we could all come together. Those of us who have access to the internet.
We don't buy anything.
Okay.
Well, you can just do a Yahoo group.
We can do a Yahoo group. The advantage of Second Life is you can actually talk in real time. So that could be a virtual discussion together. And we can send out information. I'll be responsible for sending out information about how to plug into it.
When you're finished, you just raise it.
I'm done.
You're done? Okay, Karina?
Just want to respond to you that, want to remind that in this summit of the president's wives, we could have one president at least from Finland who's a lesbian and who is a long-standing peace activist who has been silenced in her position as the president of Finland, but she's definitely a feminist.
What's her name?
Tarja Halonen.
Wow.
And she's been part of the left for all her life. And what about Evo Morales' wife?
He doesn't have one.
Oh, okay.
It's me.
But I wanted to say that for centuries men have told us we don't need to vote because we can, we can vote through the kitchen and in the bedroom. So now that's a good excuse to get the wives together because that's the men themselves have told us that's how we can have an impact.
Beautiful, I love that.
Now it's Vicky's turn.
Just a quick thing, if we really have the conference in Bosnia, Danica has gone. But if we did, I would really strongly hope that we would make a field trip to at least a site or a museum of the Maria Gimbutas' ancient matriarchal strata that I'm so in love with, that we all see the stuff for ourselves in the flesh. It's like we could go to Lipinski Vir, which is not so far, it's somewhere in Serbia on the Danube.
I've signed myself, but then Jen.
I think this is a conference, not just generally a conference of women leaders or wives. It's especially Israeli-Palestinian issue, and so that's why we would invite who we would invite.
I was proposing Icelandic president too. There is crisis.
There's one in Africa.
There is. Frida. Oh, okay. Just briefly, two things. One, in terms of the women leaders, there is actually an international organization of women political leaders that might be tapped to help with this. The other thing I want to say, just relative to peacemaking, is I just recently saw the film Pray the Devil Back to Hell, which is about the women of Liberia who got sick and tired of the war there and used their numbers to force the men who were allowed at the peace table to actually make peace. And anyway.
How?
Lydia?
Well, you know what their threat was? That they were going to go nude.
Yeah.
That was the threat. And that so much scared them that they sat in that room to make peace. But I wanted to answer about her networking idea, because that's where you're going to get the information out to a younger generation. And we've got to go on to the free internet. We can do it without buying advertising, but you just have to put all of this in some package, a form that is simple, visual. The internet is visual. and keywords. And a marketing person, perhaps, and I don't know if there's one here, with this information could give you and put you through a process of what is it you are trying to say so that you get very specific. And that's what I meant about a simple message. I didn't mean that this message is simple, but to get it out there and get the hook out there to get people into finding this information, you have to be user-friendly, visual, and very focused.
And Second Life, you could actually enact a matriarchal society.
Well, and that would be wonderful, and I'll bet Debbie can show us how to do that.
Yeah.
As far as their other global women's organizations, the Jean Shinoda Boland's Million Circles of women coming together will bring peace. That developed into, I think, Global Women International. And they're going to be doing a conference next year in Sofia, Bulgaria. Intentionally, Sofia Wisdom, on 2010. The banners were at one of them, and I don't know whether they'll be at that one. There's networking of global women's economic development. We have them in Colorado, where they go to Guatemala and help the women there earn a little substance so that they can then improve their lives and their families' lives. Another example that I'm thinking is so remarkable is 3 cups of tea. And what Greg Mortensen has done with gifting to the children of the Pamir area of Afghanistan to build schools, originally for girls, and now he is this global phenomenon. He should get the Nobel someday, but his book, if you haven't read it, 3 Cups of Tea, and now a children's book on 3 Cups of Tea. So that's the kind of thing that needs, in my view, to go out and spread this message.
This thing about how women made it, to the peace table. The same strategy was used by Nigerian women to get shell out of a village. They did come out naked. And the policemen were from the same village. They saw their mothers, sisters, everybody, and they felt so ashamed. They went back.
We also did it in Kenya.
Yeah.
92.
Tell about that.
Yeah.
Marguerite?
Yeah. In 1992, we had such a repressive dictatorship, yet the collapse of the Soviet Union was also reconfiguring the dictators, and suddenly the dictators in Africa were now to be thrown out. So those who were political prisoners for a long time continued to remain in prison in spite of the regime repealing our constitutional law that had made detention acceptable for any political thinker or political or conscience activities. So the mothers of the political prisoners went to the emerging political leaders asking that now release our children, because that section that had put people into detention in the name of Section 2A in our Constitution had been repealed. But patriarchy being for what they are with power, they said, no, wait, when we go to power, we will release them so that they get the political mileage, that they are the ones who released the prisoners. But the mothers, we were arguing, there is no justification for anybody to remain even 1 minute in prison if the democratization process has already happened, and it's happening. So one mother said she was going to die with her son, and she was going to go hunger strike outside the prison, whether they give the son or they don't. And we quickly took that idea, made a petition to the Attorney General, and the Attorney General just dismissed women and said, yes, I see your petition, go and wait outside there. Then the women asked, can we wait anywhere in Nairobi? Yes, just wait. So we went and camped. Those who have been in Nairobi, it's along Uhuru Highway, which connects Nairobi, which connects the coast and Uganda, within a national park. And monumental, because our Wangari Maathai, the Nobel Peace Prize, had succeeded in stopping the dictator from building a big skyscraper on that garden. So that area, we were calling it Freedom Corner. And up to now, it is still Freedom Corner. So we went, camped there, first day, second day, third day, fourth day. The president could not even move, yet the State House was next there. Was so scared of what was happening around there, because, you know, motorists would also come and join. Everybody, it became a political hub. And the fifth day, they decided to come and brutally remove the old women there. And the young men who were giving security to the young women, to the old women, stayed there, and at one juncture when they knocked Professor Wangari Maathai and other women, they wanted now to shoot the young men. So when the policeman was cocking the gun, this mother now removed her clothes. And the policeman dropped the gun, which means momentarily the women had taken over Kenya. And it became so effective politically that it connects with our struggle right from the onset of British Congress in 1895. A woman called Meketelili also mobilized people at the coast. Then 1922, there is another woman called Mary Nyanjiro who also led and screamed at men and told them, you can't wait when our leader is in the police cell at Central Police Station next to Norfolk Hotel in the neighborhood of Nairobi University. And she screamed and said, can I have those trousers if you can't be men? Of course, she became the first martyr. And then it connects now with the great work and contribution the women did during Mau Mau struggle in the 50s. And now in the 90s, we have now the Freedom Corner. So I am a generation of Mau Mau to Freedom Corner because I was born when Mau Mau was happening and I participated in the Freedom Corner. And that is what actually has located motherhood so strongly in Kenya and has located that women do exercise political power without authority. And that is how, therefore, we are trying to galvanize that we must be the one going to power or deciding who should go to power, because motherhood in essence is the heartbeat of what our communities and our societies are. So the issue of nakedness is so important. And when mothers remove their clothes, it means the old order collapses and a new one emerges symbolically.
Thank you for that. There was something Lydia said that reminded me. I feel that it's important for those of us here to begin to, in a concentrated way, mentor the next generation of women leaders who will be coming to these conferences and taking the leadership position. My experience writing for business publications has shown me that patriarchy is very good at what they call leadership succession. The men in the corporations always select training the new young people who they spot as the promising ones to take over the position later. And I am wondering if for all of our future conferences, each one of us might make an effort to invite at least one woman, one younger woman, whom we have identified as being a bright, either activist or student or what have you, to come to the conference and really start taking these women under our wing in a collective way so that we can, you know, feel like when it's time for us to retire, we can give the mantle to somebody who knows the issues, is excited, and can bring it to a new level. Just a very simple idea.
I want to briefly respond to that. I think it's a great idea. And I've been, waddling around the women's spirituality movement for 30 years, and I've seen very little of this.
Yes.
I've seen the exact opposite, since the pie seems so small that we're not really going to, they're, for me, they're 20 and 30 years older, but they have to hold on to everything because the pie is so small. Close quote. Yeah.
I have a term, momtor.
Instead of mentor, momtor, Teresa. Okay, great, thank you.
Just on that, can I make a connection of, therefore, I am a mother of 4, one daughter and 3 sons, and I'm also grandmother. But to connect with what you're saying, my own daughter is my inspiration. And she has decided to go back to college to do medicine at 30. Because she thinks that we need to construct medicine that connects with women wellness. And she's so passionate about it that I really had to do whatever needed to be done for her to go to do that medicine. So she's in Tanzania in her second year. And generously, there she is. And, you know, she cannot be long. And I know she will be happy to really give that that manifestation that really we need daughters to take over